For 40 years, it was the golden number, the six-figure benchmark, $100,000 a year. It wasn't just a salary. It was a finish line. It promised the American dream in a neat round package. A mortgage you could afford, a car that didn't rattle, a vacation that didn't require a credit card, and the quiet dignity of savings growing in the background. If you hit $100K, you had made it. You were upper middle class. But you're looking at your bank account right now, aren't you? You hit the number. You got the promotion. You did exactly what the guidance counselor, the university brochure, and your parents told you to do. And yet, at the end of the month, the math isn't mathing. You feel broke. Not college student broke, where you eat ramen for the irony, but systemically broke. You are drowning in a kind of invisible poverty that society refuses to acknowledge because, on paper, you are rich. Welcome to the silent depression. This isn't the breadlines of the 1930s. It's cleaner. It's quieter. It's a depression hidden behind high-resolution screens and delivery apps. It is a reality where $100,000 in 2025 is the functional equivalent of $38,000 in 1990. Today, we are going to dissect the symptoms of this economic gaslighting. We are going to look at the raw, bloody data of why you feel poor, despite doing everything right. The first thing the financial gurus will tell you is that it's your fault. They call it lifestyle creep. They say you're broke because of streaming services, DoorDash, and $7 lattes. It's a convenient narrative because it individualizes a systemic failure. It tells you that your poverty is a character flaw. But let's look at the actual numbers, shall we? Let's take that $100,000 salary. After federal taxes, state taxes, FICA, and insurance, your take-home pay in a major city, where the $100K jobs actually exist, is roughly $5,800 to $6,200 a month. Sounds decent, right? Now let's subtract the big three: housing, transportation, and student debt. In 2024, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment in cities like New York, San Francisco, or even second-tier hubs like Austin or Denver hovered between $2,500 and $3,500. Let's be generous and say you found a deal for $2,800. That is nearly 50% of your net income gone immediately. The financial rule of thumb, that rent should be 30% of your gross income, is a relic of a dead civilization. Next, student loans. The average millennial carries $30,000 to $100,000 in debt. That's another $500 to $800 a month. We haven't even bought groceries yet, and you have $2,000 left. Add a car payment because public transit in the US is a joke: insurance, gas, utilities, internet, and phone. You are left with maybe $800 for the whole month. For food, for savings, for medical copays, for life. This is lifestyle creep. This is cost of living creep. The price of necessities has skyrocketed while the price of luxuries like big screen TVs has dropped. This creates a visual distortion. You have a 60-inch 4K TV, so you look rich. But you can't afford to fix your teeth. You have an iPhone 16, so you look successful. But you are one missed paycheck away from insolvency. This is the aesthetic of the silent depression, high-tech poverty. The government tells you inflation is cooling. They say it's down to 3%. But anyone who buys groceries knows this is a statistical lie. They measure inflation using a basket of goods that they constantly manipulate. They use something called hedonic adjustments. If the price of a car goes up by $5,000 but the car has a better stereo system, the government argues the price didn't actually go up because you're getting more value. But you can't eat value. You can't live inside a better stereo system. The real inflation rate, the one that impacts your ability to survive, is significantly higher. Let's talk about the cost of childcare. For elder millennials trying to start families, this is the breaking point. The average cost of childcare in the US is now higher than in-state college tuition. We are seeing daycares charging $2,500 a month per child. If you earn $100K and have 2 kids, you are statistically poor. You qualify for housing assistance in counties in California. Let that sink in. A 6-figure earner, a top 20% income earner historically, is now eligible for welfare in high-cost areas. This is the absurdity we are living in. The money is essentially monopoly money. The currency has been debased so thoroughly that the numerical value on your paycheck has detached from the physical reality of goods and services. The most dangerous part of this depression isn't the math. It's the psychology. When you are poor and making $30,000, you know the system is rigged. You have permission to be angry. But when you make $100,000, you are gaslit into silence. You feel shame. You think, I make six figures, why can't I afford a house? Why am I using a credit card to buy groceries at the end of the month? I must be bad with money. I am here to tell you it is not you. You are playing a game where the rules were changed while you were standing on the starting line. You are trying to buy 2025 assets with wages that have the purchasing power of 2010. We are the first generation in modern history to be poorer than our parents. But we are also the most educated, the most productive, and the most efficient generation in history. We generate more wealth for our employers per hour than any generation before us. So where is the money going? If we are working harder, producing more, and earning record salaries, why are we sliding backward? The answer isn't just inflation. The answer isn't just bad luck. The answer is a deliberate architectural design of the modern economy. The money isn't disappearing. It's being stolen. In part 2, we are going to look at the thieves. We are going to look at the system that was built to ensure that $100,000 is the ceiling of your survival, rather than the floor of your prosperity. Part 2, the system. The architecture of theft. If you want to understand why you're broke, you have to look at a single graph. Economists call it the Great Decoupling. Up until the early 1970s, if American workers became more productive, if they made more stuff in less time, their wages went up. Productivity and compensation were married. They held hands and walked up the graph together. Then, around 1971, they got a divorce. Technology exploded. Computers, the internet, automation, millennials, and Gen Z became the most efficient workers in human history. We are doing the work of 3 people from the 1980s. We answer emails at midnight, we manage complex software stacks, and we are constantly connected. Productivity went through the roof. But our wages, adjusted for inflation, they barely budged. So here is the billion-dollar question. If we are generating record value, where did the extra money go? It went to the top. It went to shareholders. It went to stock buybacks. It went to the C-suite. The system was re-engineered from stakeholder capitalism, where workers, communities, and companies all benefit, to shareholder primacy. Your stagnant wage isn't a mistake. It is the fuel for their record profits. The reason you feel like you're running on a hamster wheel is that you are powering their generator. You are the battery. This brings us to the second pillar of the system, the asset economy. In the 20th century, you could get rich by working. In the 21st century, you get rich by owning. If you own a home, stocks, or assets, the Federal Reserve's policies over the last 15 years have been a miracle. They printed trillions of dollars, which inflated the value of those assets. If you owned a home in 2010, you made more money from your house sitting there doing nothing than you did from your job. But if you don't own assets, you are trapped, and the door is being slammed in your face. Look at the housing market. It's not just supply and demand. It is the financialization of a basic human need. Institutional investors, private equity firms like BlackRock and Vanguard, and massive REITs, real estate investment trusts, entered the housing market after the 2008 crash. They bought up starter homes by the thousands, the exact homes that millennials would have bought to enter the middle class. They turned them into permanent rentals. The goal of the modern economy is to turn you into a subscription service. They don't want you to own the home. They want you to rent it forever. They don't want you to own the car. They want you to lease it. They don't want you to own the movie. They want you to stream it. Why? Because ownership is freedom. If you own your home, you have a fortress against inflation. If you own your home, your housing cost is fixed for 30 years while your wages hopefully go up. But if you rent, you are subject to the whims of a market that demands year-over-year growth. Your largest monthly expense, housing, is now a variable that only goes up. This effectively cancels out any raise you get at work. You get a 3% raise. Your rent goes up 7%. You are structurally designed to lose. To participate in this rigged economy, you were told you needed a ticket, a university degree. The boomers paid for college with a summer job. In 1980, the average annual cost of a public 4-year college was roughly $2,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's still remarkably low. Today, it's tens of thousands. Why did college get so expensive? Did the education get 169% better? No, it got expensive because the government started guaranteeing student loans. Universities looked at 18-year-olds with blank checks from Uncle Sam and said, "Great, let's build a lazy river, hire 20 diversity deans, and triple the tuition." They knew you would pay it, because the alternative was implied poverty. So they strip-mined your future. They took the earnings of your 20s, 30s, and 40s and extracted them before you even attended your first class. Now I know what some of you are thinking. It's okay. The boomers have all the money, and eventually they will pass it down. The great wealth transfer is coming. Do not count on it. The system has one final trap card to play: the American healthcare and elder care industry. They knew you would pay it, because the alternative was implied poverty. So they strip-mined your future. They took the earnings of your 20s, 30s, and 40s and extracted them before you even attended your first class. We have privatized the end of life. Assisted living facilities cost $6,000 to $10,000 a month. Memory care can be $15,000 a month. The wealth that boomers have hoarded, the real estate, the stocks, the retirement funds, is not going to go to their millennial children. It is going to be vacuumed up by the medical-industrial complex in the last 5 years of their lives. By the time the great wealth transfer happens, there will be nothing left to transfer. The money flows from the boomer generation, bypasses the millennial generation entirely, and goes straight into the pockets of the healthcare conglomerates and insurance companies. This is why 100K feels like poverty. Because you are being charged a premium for simply existing in a system designed to extract wealth from you at every stage of your life cycle. But is this it? Are we just doomed to be the generation of high-earning poor? The first step to surviving the silent depression is not financial. It is psychological. You have to kill the ghost of 1990. You have to stop mourning the future you were promised. It is gone. Waiting for the government to fix this is a strategy for fools. Waiting for prices to return to normal is a strategy for victims. We are in a new climate. The seasons have changed, and we are standing in the snow wearing beach clothes because we refuse to admit that winter is here. To survive, we must adopt a philosophy of radical adaptation. We cannot play by the boomer rulebook because that rulebook was written for a game that no longer exists. If the game is rigged, you have 3 options. You can cheat, you can leave the table, or you can change how you keep score. The most powerful lever you have is your location. In the old economy, you had to live in the global cities to make the high salaries. You paid a proximity tax, insane rent for access to the job market. But the digital revolution gave us one weapon: remote work. If you are earning $100,000 in New York City, you are working class. You are struggling. But if you take that same $100,000 to Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Lisbon, Portugal, or Da Nang, Vietnam, you are wealthy. This is called geographic arbitrage. It is the act of earning in a strong currency or a high-wage location, and spending in a weak currency or a low-cost location. Stop trying to buy a house in a market where BlackRock is your competitor. Go where capital is treated best. If the American dream is dead in America, maybe you have to go find it somewhere else. This requires sacrifice, leaving friends, leaving family, but the alternative is staying in the burning building hoping the fire department shows up. If you cannot move, you must starve the beast. The modern economy is built on a foundation of fragile consumerism. It relies on you feeling inadequate so that you will buy things to fill the void. We have to decouple success from spending. The $100K poverty line exists partly because we are trying to maintain a lifestyle that is mathematically impossible. We are trying to signal status to people who don't care about us. There is a movement in China called Tang Ping, or lying flat. It is a rejection of the rat race. It is a refusal to overwork for meager rewards. We need a Western version of this. This isn't about being cheap. It's about being strategic. Every dollar you spend on a subscription, a leased car, or fast fashion is a dollar you hand over to the very corporations that are suppressing your wages. When you stop buying their narrative of what a successful life looks like, their power over you evaporates. You become dangerous to the system when you are content with less. If you can live happily on $50,000, then earning $100,000 makes you free. If you require $100,000 to be happy, you are a slave. Finally, we must address the money itself. As we discussed in Part 2, the currency is broken. Holding cash is like holding an ice cube in the summer. It melts. Savings accounts are losing strategies. You must become an owner, but you have to be smart about what you own. The stock market is at all-time highs, propped up by printing. Real estate is in a bubble. So where do you go? You look for hard assets, assets that cannot be printed by a government. For some, that is Bitcoin, a digital lifeboat outside the traditional banking system. For others, it is physical gold. For others, it is a small plot of land, not a McMansion but productive land. The goal isn't to become a billionaire. The goal is to preserve your energy. You work hard for your money. When you store it in dollars, the government steals your time through inflation. When you store it in hard assets, you are freezing your time, saving it for the future. You are building a personal fortress. This requires financial literacy that they do not teach in school. You have to educate yourself. You have to become your own central bank. We are living through a fourth turning, a period of crisis that happens roughly every 80 years. The institutions are crumbling. The social contract is torn. It is scary, it is unfair, and it is exhausting. But hard times create strong people. The boomers had the wind at their backs. We have the wind in our faces. That resistance is forging a generation that is resilient, skeptical, and resourceful. The silent depression is real. The $100K poverty line is real. But you are not a statistic. You are a player in this game. And now that you know the rules, now that you know the game is rigged, you can stop playing their way.